Good morning, everybody. Here's my quick little tutorial on how to make, or how I make, my little pinch pot pumpkins. This is all done with paper clay. I'm using Laguna 866 paper clay. These are the tools I think I have gathered together, everything that I used. I have a rolling pin. That comes later. I have a wooden spoon that I use for smoothing the clay. Some tools you'll recognize. I used this one when I was putting texture on the leaves and on the stem. Anything that's reasonably blunt, an old ballpoint pen that doesn't work would work just fine. I have a pin tool, a hole tool, and a little block of wood that I have sanded down so that it's not so sharp, and have marked the end so I remember where that not so sharp piece is. You'll see how I use that later. I have a 6-sided star. I used that when I made the leaves. A little bit bigger might be better for pumpkin, but they're just for decoration, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, so I use a pound of clay that I start with that I made into a ball. I'm not going to take the time to pinch them. I just make sure that I pinch them evenly. They've come up the sides as evenly as possible. And I just keep working and working. I don't let it get away on me. I keep it pinched in so that it is always working its way up. And once I have got it to this point, which is about 4 inches wide and 4 inches tall, you'll see it has now gotten fairly thin. And at this point, that's where the wooden spoon comes in. I have gone around, looked for any little cracking that's showing, any kind of rough parts, and I use the wooden spoon to smooth that out. Works really, whoops, if you use the right side, it works really, really well. I'll just fix those little bits that I did. So it's mostly been done and it has smoothed it out. So now I am going to start to pinch away and bring it in. I'm going to keep it fairly thin as I bring it in. And I'm just going to keep working it in. And it's going to, wrinkle and look like a sad old paper bag or something. But you've got to get it completely in. So just keep stretching it up as you come in. And you can see how it wrinkles and comes in. Wrinkles don't matter. Pumpkins aren't perfect, bless their little hearts. So just keep going around and bringing it in. And it does not matter that it's getting thin at this point, because by the time you get it into the middle, you don't want it all that thick anyway. This is the part that becomes your stem. So keep bringing it in, letting it fold over. There we go. Keep reaching in and underneath and keeping it round. There we go. Now at this point, we now have the air trapped on the inside, and that will help. So I'm just going to keep pinching that little knob together. Because like I said, it will become the stem. So I'm just kind of smoothing it out. And you see all these little wrinkles at the top? They're not to be worried about at all. That's they will kind of guide you in your pumpkin divisions. So I have flattened that right out. And I just kind of make sure I still have essentially a round shape. Smooth out any of the cracks that have wanted to develop. Nothing too big. I've used my little wood tool and I'm doing a bit of a push just to make the base of your stem comes together and becomes little points where it joins onto the pumpkin, just to give it a bit of separation from the pumpkin, where the stem begins and the pumpkin begins. There, I've gone all around and I've separated it. Clean it up a bit. Smooth it out. And I have used this tool, doesn't matter which end, just to randomly run lines up rough it up, make it look like the stem of a pumpkin. You see the pumpkin developing. Little short, squiggly lines that run over each other, twist and turn. You have to be fairly quick with this because as that stem starts to dry, it'll be harder to manipulate it. Because we are going to want to kind of bend and shape it into the... There, been all the way around. You can see how that has turned out. I usually just do a little swirl here on the end too. I use something else to mark it. A little. And then bend it. Maybe give it a bit of a twist. There. And at that point, I sometimes even push it down into the pumpkin. If you need to touch up your lines where you squeezed it, no big deal. So, there's the stem. Now, your divider lines for your pumpkin, that's where this little block of wood comes in. And I use these cracks or wrinkles that just happened naturally as the deciding line. So it's just run that little block right from the top right down around to the bottom. Pick another spot. This is going to be a good spot here. I don't do too many. And they don't have to be, you know, don't make them the same width apart because pumpkins aren't perfect. That one's narrower. I'll go over it again. Here's another one, comes right up and matches into that. 4 divisions, so let's match up to this piece right here. And think I'll get 2 more. One right here. And one right here. Right up into there. How are we looking? All right. I'm going to push that down again. There we go. Now, I'm just going to steal a little bit of clay from there. I'm going to roll this fairly thin. It's just a sprig. And stamp it with the little star. This is paper clay, so it's going to be kind of fuzzy. So I have to clean up the fuzz. And pin tool, knife, anything, I am going to cut off one of those star points, and I'm left with a perfect little leaf. And again, with this tool, I am going to mark in the ribs of the leaf. So, throw some slip on it. I make my slip with the same clay and a little bit of vinegar. Just pick a spot to drop that on there. And once it's sitting in place, I'm going to take this tool and I'm going to go all the way around the leaf and kind of flute the edge, give it that sharp, the sharp edges that you would see on a pumpkin leaf. And there's the little leaf. Now the only other thing that I might have on there is I might roll a little tiny coil. Wrap it around the handle of something. Slide it off. And there's your, break it off. There's the little curl. And I'll stick it on. A couple of little touches of, and I'll use the pin tool to place it. There. Tuck it in. And there's your pumpkin. Thanks for watching.